Hi YouTube, Darth here. This is Over Your Shoulder, where I follow unsuspecting players and give what is usually unsolicited advice. Today's victim is a level 137 soldier called Hot Inari. As we can see from the stats, Hot Inari has some okay stats and a definite preference for the Recon class and the DMRs. Given that his emblem is a claymore, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few of those in today's match. As I follow over Hot Inari's shoulder, I'll call out all the good things, the bad things, and the things I might do differently. So let's take a look over Hot Inari's shoulder. Alright, on the ground with Hot Inari. Sounds delicious. Let's take a look at what we're using here. Got the RPK-74 Coyote. He's definitely a fan of the Claymores, by the way. Has it in his profile. Tri-beam laser, heavy barrel, stubby. So it's a pretty decent setup if you want to go long range. Dropping those Claymores like it's his business. Trying to blow that out. Apparently not coming up with it. Yep, gotta go grenade route. Took a little bit too much off the top there. I probably would have stepped a little bit further back and not really using that spot to his advantage anyways. Not sure what we were going with there. A little bit of damage, possibly from behind. Takes that guy out pretty easy. A little bit of hip fire, laser sight good for that. Probably just getting an incidental damage marker here. Yep, ran straight into that guy while reloading. Probably not the best decision. Back on the ground, we are currently at Foxtrot. Looks like the U.S. team is completely dominating the map. Immediately gets taken out from the single stack. Not a hot start for Hot Inari. Taking a look there, trying to get a little bit of retribution, just shooting a little bit blindly, kind of guessing where this guy is. I think on that last life, I probably would have been a little more careful about peeking my head around. Manages to bounce the grenade off the wall there, comes right back out and hits him in the face. Almost gets taken out by that, taking some blind shots at a couple enemies, too many on the ground, and he gets taken out. So this is probably where I'd try to slow this down a little bit here, to be a little bit more careful, take a look, see what we can find on the map, see what enemies present themselves. Sees this guy right here, apparently ignores him, falls asleep and dies. Not sure what's going on there. Alright, we can see we have a couple of friendlies here, see an enemy up there on that. Definitely needs to play this a little bit slower. See this guy to the left, takes a shot at him, misses the shot. A little bit of trouble here, at least 2 or 3 enemies. Finally gets that guy. Comeback bonus 40. Ouch, it's a rough start. Got a couple of friendlies here, gonna get taken out by just too many enemies. Again, slow that down. Hot Inari definitely not off to a hot start and definitely playing a little bit too aggressively. Oh, what am I kidding? He's playing way too aggressively. Needs to be on the outside of those points, looking in, try to pick off a few guys, and then move in. We know that there's plenty of bad guys there, so why are you trying to tackle them all at the same time? I'm not really sure. Throws down a couple of claymores here. Might catch a few. Not bad at the start trying to capture it. You might get caught dropping those, though, depending on how fast the defenders respawn. Strange explosion there. One guy coming in. Takes that guy out pretty easy. A little bit too much left and right action with the strafing. Gives a little bit of support from the team. Find this guy missing that shot. Finally comes up with it. Taking a look around, we got pretty much a mini-map full of blue. The map itself, currently in the Americans' control, up by about 200 points. Not looking good for the Chinese team right now. Drops a few more claymores. Definitely a fan of the claymores on this guy. Currently we've got a lot of friendlies around, so it's not a bad idea to backfill while you're protected. Moving our way towards Delta. Right now I'd probably be thinking about trying to clear out the entirety of this inside. Looks like the Chinese team is pushing on Delta a little bit. We're going to get them right back off again. The minimap has 2 guys over there on the far side. You can see one guy over there under the bridge playing a little bit too far away from cover right there. Almost gets his head blown off. And in that instance, we really had no reason to run out in the middle like that. You knew enemies were coming. You might as well just wait for them to take the safe shot. You can see on the map here how the Chinese team is still pushing into that center point quite heavily. As far as setup goes, I don't think I would use the RPK quite as extensively on the inside. It's more of a longer range weapon. But it looks like Hot Inari is going to catch this guy napping, takes him out with a little bit of hip fire action. That laser comes in handy. Sees this guy right here, does a little bit of left-right footwork, manages to come up with him. Now, the RPK-74 got quite a buff in the last patch where the damage model got put halfway between the normal LMGs and the heavier LMGs like the M240Bs. So it's taken quite a few notches up in the last few patches. It looks like we're taking a break here to catch a few more claymores. Definitely a fan of the claymores for Hot Inari. Ignores that respawn there, walks through it, pretty much gets killed by his own claymore. Looks like he gets picked up by his teammates. Definitely need to be a little bit more conscious of where enemies are going to spawn when you're taking a point for defenders. Particularly here on this point, they like to spawn in those little cubbies on the side, the little closets, utility closets, whatever they are. So usually you have enemies rushing in from those spots. And especially if you hear the spawn like we did, and then you see the bullets, you don't want to walk through them. Working on that Claymore action. Probably not the best map for Claymores, to be honest. He's pretty much going to have to play this inner part the entire time to get any action out of them. Currently the map is separated by about 300 points, so we'll see if the Chinese team can come back from this. My personal favorite maps for Claymores are Flood Zone and Pearl Market, maps where you can get a lot of CQB action and there's a lot of enemies going everywhere at every time. Currently patrolling around on the bottom side of this, not much going on here. Looks like we have forced the Chinese team to the perimeter of the map. If you can control the outside and let the enemy team control the inside, you pretty much will win this no problem. Not sure where we're going with all this Claymore action. Definitely has something to prove with these things. Dropping 3 in a row, probably a little bit excessive. I think I would be a little bit more strategic about where I'm placing them rather than just building a giant spider web. If your enemy's smart, they'll come through the other door, and that's exactly what they do. And Hot Inari is full of hot lead. So let's take a look at the tabletop real quick and see what we got going on the map. We got the majority of this island right here in the north captured by the Chinese. Looks like we got a little bit of action here. Aborts that and places a few more Claymores. Surprise, surprise. Now, on this map, I usually like to run boats if my team's boats are not particularly strong. And we get taken out here dropping a couple of Claymores. Like I said, make sure it's probably clear before you try that. Looks like we got a res here, so we're going to go back to Hot Inari. We're going to never find him. There we go. Pulling the Claymores right back out again. So I, with my Claymores, particularly like dropping them in locations that I know the enemy will be coming through sometime soon, and not in such obvious locations like easy to see doorways. I like to be a little bit more tricky about them. I actually made a Minuteman a couple of months ago about my strategies for dropping Claymores. Getting some action with that RPK-74, quite a few enemies here. I'd probably be peeking this corner right here, waiting to see what I can find. Comes out in the open, manages to catch one guy. A couple of guys here to the left we saw on the mini-map. Taking a look. Looks like they got cleaned up possibly by friendlies. And waiting for those respawns. We see a few guys on the minimap. There's a personal watercraft coming in on the map that we probably could have taken out easy peasy. Now he's up in our face. Managed to take him out anyways. Lots of respawns there on the map we can see courtesy of the commander. We have a boat out in the lagoon that we probably want to avoid. Might not be a bad idea to throw a grenade there. He does so. Looks like his teammates have cleared that up entirely. Currently still in the United States team's favor. 300 points up now. And something I'd also like to point out is Inari likes to do a lot of left and right step, particularly when it's unnecessary. Something you should probably work on for the future is trying to stop and shoot as opposed to going left and right. You see that there's an enemy over there doing a little bit too much footwork here. You're not under stress, so no reason to just not wait back and try to see if he comes out and pick him off when he does so. Lots of inside action. I think if I were the Chinese team, I would really focus on those boats and try to capture those outside points. You can capture pretty much every point that's on the outside of the island with while you're still inside of a boat. Looks like we have a couple trying to force the issue over here at this locked door. Yep, the watertight seal is down, and there is no getting in for that boat. Especially because there are 3 Americans here just chilling. And it looks like there are a couple more reinforcements. We got this, guys. Don't you worry. My own personal philosophy is to try to be where my teammates are not. Doing some meaningless patrolling around on the inside. No action to be found here. At this point, my general strategy, if I were on foot, would probably be to find one of those personal watercrafts that are here and just take it to the outside and go start capturing Alpha and Bravo, because you can sort of walk back and forth on that island and get some okay infantry action. You just have to watch out for the boats that are coming along on the outside pretty often. And the nice thing is, if you manage to capture Bravo, there is, in fact, a attack boat that spawns at that location. So apparently he's going to go and do what I said, the long way by swimming. So sometime in the next decade he will find land. Looks like we have an enemy chopper patrolling around. Probably would have dunked my head just to make sure that it didn't see me. I've had choppers just patrolling around catch me swimming far too often, and now I am averse to it. We see that there's a guy up there on top of that building. Might try to track it down. Doesn't do so. Catches the one guy that was coming for him. He got another guy coming up here. There are probably too many. Definitely peeks his head at the wrong time and gets his shot off. So Hot and Nari got quite a bit more action in that life than previous lives. Turned it around with his kill death at least. Probably popped that shoot a little bit too early. This guy's oblivious though, and he's either going to get a knife in the butt or a claymore, of course. And just missing this guy entirely. We're tracking him down, waiting for him. Probably spent too long trying to kill him. He might die to this guy here. Manages to catch him and take him out almost barely. Just about lost his life doing so. Probably would have been completely out of luck if he had had a faster firing weapon than the enemy's side. The RPK is not a very good weapon at close range like that, so you want to try and leverage as much as you can with the longer range or middle range engagements. We're definitely throwing down the claymores in a little bit more strategic manner than we were before, not so much laying the spider's nest. That's not a bad location depending on where those tripwires are. You want to take a look and make sure that your tripwires are not in a super obvious spot. Like if they're going across doors, people are going to notice those, but that right there, that is actually a good claymore. Stairs are actually one of the better places you can place them. It looks like we have a couple enemies here on the minimap. Almost gets taken out by one, finally gets shot down. So doing a little capture action there. It looks like the American team is still in charge of this map. Huge point difference now, about 400 ticket difference. No chance for the Chinese team to come back at this point unless the American team completely gives up. Almost gets shot by that RPG, or excuse me, that straw. Manages to take out his aggressor. Might catch a ride on here. Catches that guy, but he gets caught by the one he didn't see. Clever girl. Hadanari back up. Several dead teammates on the map. I'd play this a little bit slower, would be my guess. Waiting out here. I might even get into that little divot right there to his left and try to pick off anything I can see in the middle. Try to get a little bit more reestablished before I push straight in the middle and just drop claymores because it's my business. Taking a look around on that mini-map, we can see that we got plenty of friendlies here. Don't know what happened to all the enemies. They might have just been plain killed. Looks like Alpha and Bravo are now in control by the Americans. Again, I'd be thinking mobility, try to find that personal watercraft, get off this island. Here's a problem that you do come into when you are on this island from time to time, is that you have the problem of getting back off the island if all the personal watercrafts and ribs are gone. Then you have to swim, and it's pretty unpleasant. You could always just wait for additional boats to show up, though. You see all these Americans trying to get off, and now everybody has to swim, because that's the way it is. One thing to keep in mind is the AC-130 on this map. You will get wrecked by it on this island if the enemy has it. Thankfully, we are in charge. 80 points now for the Chinese team. This is wrapping up pretty quick. Might try something fancy there, not so much. Probably would have just peeked that corner rather than rushing into it. That guy wasn't paying attention at all. This is pretty much going to be the end of this game. Shoots at a couple of friendlies. No reason to do that. Come on, be nice. Take a look at that tabletop. Yeah, the Chinese team is pretty much just wrapped up by their carrier right now. Not going to get a whole lot more action here for Hadanari. So that's the end of this round. Hadanari didn't really get a lot going early on because he had a terrible habit of trying to rush into close quarters with a weapon that was definitely not meant for close quarters. There were a number of times where playing it a bit slower would have helped tremendously. Particularly when Hadanari was getting overwhelmed by enemies out of cover, he should have thought about how to slow his game down and play a bit safer. He also did a lot of strafing left and right when he should have just planted his feet and taken his shot. As for the claymore placement, there were a few choices that were a little too obvious and some that were in better places. Ultimately, Hadanari didn't end up contributing a whole lot to the team, and that's reflected in the end of game score. That's it for this round of Over Your Shoulder. If you'd like to be featured on a future episode, check out my contact information in the description below, or leave me a message and I'll try to catch up with you. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, YouTube.